it really means a lot when I hear, people like that, wishing me luck and as I say, I love racing in Brazil. There's always a fantastic vibe, and it's an amazing country. So no, thank you very much.
Welcome to Endörphin Podcast. Here at Endörphin Podcast, you listen to stories and opinions from triathletes, cyclists, runners, and swimmers. Interesting people fueled by endorphin. This episode is brought to you by Bovine Energy, an energy trading company that also specializes in managing and migrating services, as well as for endorphin gas. For Bovine, energy is serious business. www.bovine.com.br boven.com.br. This episode is also brought to you by LAF Insurances. Do you know that my friends at LAF were the pioneers to develop a bike insurance policy in Brazil? Check out all the policies and conditions at www.lafseguros.com.br and ask for a special price quotation for the then first endorphin listeners who hire insurance at the special URL www.lafseguros.com.br/endorphina. And last but not least, this episode is also brought to you by CycleOps. The CycleOps Hammer is the best direct drive trainer, now available also here in Brazil. Totally user-friendly and compatible with the most popular virtual training apps like Swift and Trainer Road. You can replicate with astonishing precision all the road conditions with inclinations as steep as 20%. Find out more at the Facebook page of CycleOps Trainer Brazil. Now you don't have any excuses for not training properly.
Hello everybody, welcome to another Endörphin Podcast. On today's episode, I'm more than happy to announce that after a few months of emailing forth and back, I did manage to squeeze on Tim's busy schedule an hour to chat with me and you. At first hand, I had this idea last year, weeks after his incredible Ironman record breaking. And why it's that, you might be thinking, since my mission here is first and foremost to revive and tell the stories of Brazil's endurance sports and athletes. Well, as you might have already noticed on previous episodes, I'm trying also to give you some context of Brazil's 35 years of triathlon history. And as I've mentioned a few times here before, the arrival of the first official Ironman event as an international franchise back in 2001 was a game changer. There was triathlon before it, and now there's another scenario after that iconic first edition. And the history is continuing to be written year after year, race after race, finisher after finisher until today. It turned out that triathlon here in Brazil changed a lot. Arguably one of the most memorable facts on this history happened last year, when a British triathlete well known to the Brazilians, representing the Brazilian team, crossed the finish line with the fastest time ever for the distance to date. Right here at the same Ironman Brazil. And so I thought, why not have him on this podcast? He's on this sport for almost 3 decades now, have a fantastic career, a huge fan base down here, and wrote a very important chapter on tri's history not only worldwide, but especially here in our country. With a chat of a little more than 60 minutes, you'll get to know not only Tim's personal story and background, but what does it take to break the world record and after a preposterous accident endure 3 months with the halo only to be able to race again. And as you might already know, he'll be back in Kona next week to face the biggest comeback of tri's history. Hope you all enjoyed this exclusive chat for the Brazilians, first time on a long time format, and this world premiere on a podcast after his classification for Kona 2018. On this first international episode of the Endörphin Podcast, I couldn't be happier to welcome a very special guest. And it's not only because he's a very nice guy, athlete, father and husband. Also because he's been swimming, cycling and running for the past 26 years, have been a junior world champion, three-time Olympian and won several races, including a handful of 70.3, some of them here in Brazil, and since 2017 protagonized two of the most impressive recent stories in the sport of triathlon. Team Dawn set a world record of 7 hours 40 minutes and 23 seconds for an Ironman distance event, the fast ever, right here at the Ironman Brazil. A few months after, only 2 days before Kona, he was hit by a car while riding his bike, causing a severe neck vertebra injury that almost could have put him aside forever. He decided not to give up. Instead, he chose the hard path for a bigger chance of racing again. He chose the halo. And today, only a few days before his comeback at the World Championships in Kona, he's set to write a new chapter in the triathlon history. And before we begin, I would like to thank On Running. As team's sponsor and presenter of the documentary The Man with the Halo, On Running also believed in this episode's idea. Now available in Brazil, you also can benefit from the Swiss brand with the exclusive technology CloudTech, engineered to deliver a soft landing followed by an explosive takeoff. In other words, running on clouds. Please give it up for Team Dawn. Hello, team. Thanks for being here. It's a real pleasure talking to you at Endörphin Podcast. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. No, I'm tired from training, but really good.
We are recording this podcast about 34 days before Kona, so I can only imagine how busy you are with all the sponsors, commitments, and training sessions approaching the big day. So thank you so much for spreading some time into your schedule to talk to us here in Brazil. It's a real pleasure and very nice from you, Tim. So let's begin it. Tell us about your childhood. Where were you born, family, sports contact at an early age? Your father is a soccer referee at FIFA. Were you born into a sporting family?
Yeah, I was born in West London in 1978, so 40 years ago. I've got an older sister, Nicola, who's also very sporty. She's won age group medals at ITU triathlon, and she rode for Oxford University. She's won medals at the winter triathlon. Engadine cross country skiing. I think she's maybe more talented than me, and very academic.
Whoa! She lives in Switzerland. You said Engadine.
Yes, that's right. She lives in Switzerland. She's got two children. She's married to a Swiss guy, Luke, who's top lad. Very nice.
Oh, good. And how was your contact with sports?
When I was younger, we were definitely a family who weren't sitting down on the weekend. We were always outside. Riding, walking. I remember going on lots of walking holidays in the countryside in England. I always swam. I remember when I was 7, I would swim before school and after school on some days. I love riding my mountain bike, and I enjoyed running as well. For me, it was just part of our lives. My sister was very sporty. My father was, and my mother's very sporty as well. So for us, it was kind of get back from school, do your homework, and then go outside. And whether it was playing football or I used to ride my bike when my dad was running. It was a real outdoors kind of like healthy lifestyle, that I was brought up in. And I'm very, very fortunate and lucky to have a family like that.
Oh, I see. And was that a common habit amongst the families in your neighborhood or in your city, or it was just your family was an outcast family with this outdoors habit?
I think amongst our friends it was very common, but I think generally in London, lots of the boys my age were into computer games. I think it was the Commodore 64 and the Atari.
I remember that.
Everyone was playing on those. Everyone would come home and watch television. Well, I didn't. I would rather be outside playing football, riding my BMX mountain bike. Again, on the weekends, sometimes we'd go and visit our friends in the north of England, and we'd go on 10-mile hikes, take our picnic with us.
Whoa.
It was always we were never sat still, I don't think, as a family, really, growing up.
Oh, I see. And was your first bike contact riding a BMX?
Yeah, it was the first bicycle. Yeah, I remember. I think I had one when I was a lot younger, but it was a Rally Blackburner BMX, a black and red BMX.
Nice.
So I'm sure that was when I was 7 or 8.
And by then, Tim, did you have any clues that you were endurance gifted at all?
No, until I was about 12, I just enjoyed it and it was fun. I played a lot of football. I played for the London Borough of Richmond, and I played for the county. But for me, it was just fun. It wasn't until I changed schools and went to secondary school, kind of where you have, specialist teachers in all the subjects, and the PE teacher, the physical education teacher, said, "Oh, I was quite a good runner. I should join a local running club." And I was lucky that my local running club was very local. It was only a couple of kilometres away. So I could ride my bike there on a Tuesday and Thursday and do the running club session. And I did it with 2 of my great friends, Sam and Ben. And that's kind of, how I got into running. And after about 3 years of running, I was good at cross country and long distance. I think I was ranked 4th in our county, but I was still only ranked 3rd in our school because the 2 guys I ran with, Sam and Ben, they've both been to the Commonwealth Games for track and field.
Whoa.
And then it was about 3 years after that. So when I was about 15, we had this new guy come and join our running group who was from Somalia. And he was an amazing runner, but a lot younger than us. And his name was Mohammed Farah. And that was Mo Farah, who's a 4-time Olympic gold medalist. So I used to run with him 3 times a week for about 4 years or so.
Whoa, and he studied at your school?
He went to my rival school, but we were members of the same running club. So I went to a school called St. Mark's, the Catholic school, and he went to Feltham Community College, and they were a big rivalry. But yeah, we trained together on a Tuesday and Thursday. And then every other Sunday, the coach would pick us up and we'd do a longer run in a place called Windsor Great Park or Virginia Waters, a slightly longer run.
Whoa, I didn't know that. And when did you choose triathlon, Tim?
So, I mean, I kind of chose, it was an accident, really. So when I was at school, lots of my friends had Saturday jobs where they would work in clothing shops or, shops where you'd buy records and CDs. They don't exist anymore because we download everything. But yes. I like to race and train. And obviously I could swim, and I ended up becoming a lifeguard at my local swimming pool. And my local swimming pool is an open air swimming pool in London, which is heated, and it's open every day of the year. And I was working there, and I'd work there some days after school as well as on a Saturday or a Sunday. And there's a triathlon club there called Thames Turbo. And when I was swimming then as well. And when I was swimming, I was in the B squad. And in the A squad, there was this good swimmer there, but he would only swim freestyle, really. And one day when I got to swimming, they'd just finished, and he must have only been 20, 21, and he had a convertible Mercedes car, this swimmer. And I was like, wow, how's he afforded this car? And he had a couple of his friends buy the car, and he undid the boot, and he took out of this boot this bright fluorescent pink Specialized bike with Specialized tri-spokes. And that was Spencer Smith.
Whoa.
So I didn't realize at the time that this guy was a junior world champion, and he was a member of the triathlon club. And then I saw him there, and I said, hey, I'm going to join this triathlon club, and I can swim, I enjoy bike riding, and I'm a good runner. And that was in about 1992. And that's when I first joined a triathlon club, and kind of I did my first couple of races were swimming pool swims, 400 meters, 20-kilometer bikes, and 5K runs. But I did everything in my running trainers. I didn't have triathlon kit, so I did it in my swimming trunks and a t-shirt. But I just really enjoyed it. the atmosphere, the vibe, the people. Everyone was just going as hard as they could, and it was competitive, but it was such a relaxed, nice vibe, and that's really how I found triathlon.
Oh, nice. You were around 15 or 16 at the time, isn't it?
Yes, I was still a youth, so I was 14, 15. Yes.
Okay. And did you also wear a tiny speedo like Spencer did at the time?
Absolutely. Everyone raced in fact, I don't know if you remember, Scott Tinley used to make his own triathlon
Yes.
clothing.
Yes, of
And I used
course.
to have a pair of Scott Tinley triathlon swimming trunks, and they were black with purple
Yeah.
flashy colors and yellow flashy colors.
Yeah, new wave style.
Yeah, I was so cool back then. So cool.
And those running shorts were so cut open on the sides that you could
Yeah,
always see the underwear beneath it.
that's it. Yeah, fly knit.
Yes. Nice, nice. Do you recall your typical training sessions when you first began training?
So I think I was quite lucky. So the town, the suburb I grew up in was one called Teddington, and it's where Daniel Coman used to live. And there was a university which my parents went to called St Mary's University, and that was the university that all the Kenyan long distance runners got their visas for. So I would be training, and I would see 10 Kenyans running back in the early 90s when it was Daniel Coman, Daniel Koech, Paul Turgat, Sonia O'Sullivan used to live in the town. It was just a real hotbed for endurance sport. And at the university, there was a coach there who was studying his degree in exercise physiology. And to earn some money, he was the triathlon coach. And he saw that I was talented, and he said, "Oh, I'd like to coach you properly." So right from a young age, I was lucky that I had a specific triathlon coach who was also a scientist. So I think it was in the late 90s I had my first ever SRM power meter, because he had one through his university that he could use for his studies, and I was part of the study.
Oh, of course,
and
yes.
he also had it was a very big, but he had a polar heart rate monitor. So even back in the late 90s, I was doing all my training by my heart rate, and he was using the power to download through the old SRM and so forth.
Whoa, that's a
So
privilege.
oh gosh, when I look back, and there was another guy who I grew up with called Stuart Hayes, who he went to the Olympics in London for Great Britain for triathlon, and we swam together since we were 6 years old. So again, there was another athlete called Richard Stannard, who was one of the better ITU athletes in the 90s. So again, I was in this close area, and there were all these international world-class endurance athletes. It really was, yeah, I was born at the right place in the right time.
Whoa, indeed. And that was a privilege, really, yes. Do you recall when you first crossed the finish line, Tim? Which race was it and where? Describe your feelings at the time. Were you overwhelmed too?
I remember the first race I did absolutely awful. I did terrible. But I remember crossing the line with a smile on my face. It was actually at the swimming pool I worked on. They do we have 5 bank holiday Mondays where they're public holidays, and they have they have a triathlon every day, and it was a local one. And I remember swimming fantastic. I got on the bike, and I was not really training properly. I rode 10 kilometers, and then I was like, oh, I'm absolutely exhausted. I didn't have a water bottle. I rode another 10 kilometers, and then I had to run 5 kilometers. And yeah, it wasn't very fast, but I just remember thoroughly enjoying it.
Yeah. I personally brought a chocolate bar on my T1 on my first race. And how did the next races and improvements happen, Tim? Could you elaborate on that, please?
So then I realized, okay, I need to start training everything. So I was able to save up and buy a racer. So I had a racing bike, and then I had Graham Fletcher was his name. He started to coach me, And the next race was actually a duathlon that I did. It was a 5 kilometer run, 20 kilometer bike, 2.5 kilometer run. And Stuart Hayes, who was in the national team, junior team at the time, he said, "Oh, if you get top 6, then you can go to the European Championships." And I was like, "Oh, wow, where are they?" And they were in Finland. And I was like, "Oh, that sounds nice." So I did the race and I finished 6th. And Stuart, my friend, finished 7th.
Whoa.
So I think he wished he hadn't told me. And that's when so then the team manager came up and said, "Look, we'd like to select you. Do you think you can come?" And I was only 14 at the time. I said, "Well, I have to ask my parents." So they thought about it and they said yes. And so my second race, I qualified. And then my third race ever was the European Duathlon Championships in Finland. So it really happened so quickly overnight, really.
Nice. Well, in 97, you turned pro. How did it happen?
Yes, I finished my school at 1997. At the summer of 96, and then I had a job at the Lifeguard, so I could earn some money. And I decided to take a year off education before I went to university. And I was racing in Europe and in England, and I was doing really well. And I went to the World Champs in Australia, in Perth. But unfortunately, I had a terrible race and ended up not finishing. So my parents said, "Oh, are you going to go to university now?" And I said, "Oh, well, I didn't have the best race. I really want to take another year." And they said, "Well, if you can, just have a job, just to earn some money, then you give it one more go, but then you have to go to university." And I said, "Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And then that winter, I went away to Zimbabwe in Africa to train because I had a friend that lived there, and there were 4 of us that went. And Zimbabwe is at altitude, and that was the winter of 97, 98, and I had a fantastic winter's training. I came back, I won my first race. I then started to race what was called the ETU Cup, the European Triathlon Cup races. And I was still only a junior, but I was getting 8ths, 5ths, 6ths, racing Oliver Marceau, Dimitri Garg, Rob Burrell. Who else was there? Richard Hobson, Glenn Cook, Richard Allen, some of the older athletes, but I was racing with them as a junior. I went to the European Junior Triathlon Championships, and the night before the race, I went for a swim with Spencer and Andrew Johns, and I came out of the swimming pool, and my bike wasn't there, and I thought, these guys, where have they hidden my bike? Anyway, I couldn't find my bike, so I went back to the hotel, and someone had stolen my bike.
Whoa!
So 6 p.m. and I was racing the next day at 8:05 a.m. and someone had stolen my bike. So we managed to get a bike from the expo, but it was too small. The brakes were the wrong way round, and I had a good race. I finished second, but I just wasn't comfortable, and my back was sore and all sorts of things. And I realized then that there's a massive difference between winning a world title or European title and getting second or third or fourth. So I carried on racing, and I think I got a few podiums in the senior races, but for me, my parents wanted me to go to university. So I said, "Look, it's the World Championships in Lausanne in 1998. And if I win, I will go professional. And if I don't win, if I get second, third, fourth, I will go to university and I will study first, triathlon second." And I don't know if it was luck or not, but I became junior world champion. And that opened the door for me for sponsorship. There was a triathlon series in Australia called the St. George Formula One, super sprint racing, and they offered me a contract to race. So the whole winter, they said, 6 months, we pay your accommodation, all your flights, all your food, come to Australia and race. And I was like, yes, please.
Whoa,
and
nice.
So then my parents said, okay, yep, you can be a professional triathlete. And that's how I guess I became a professional.
And was their reception a good one? Or deep down, they never believed that you would win in Lausanne?
I think I don't. I think in Lausanne, I think they didn't understand the sport to know how well I was going to do. And obviously, my father, he's worked in football, the Premier League. He's been to the Olympics, the World Cup as a referee. He's also worked for the Premier League, and to him, professional sport, you make millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars, and he could see triathlon wasn't like that. But I was still young then, and I think they always knew I could go to university in 1 year, 2 year, but they were willing to let me follow my dreams and try and at least rather try and fail as opposed to never try at all.
Yes.
And I was very lucky that my parents supported me like that.
So you could experience by yourself and make your own conclusions.
Absolutely. And they were very supportive. No, they really were. I think I've been lucky with my my family, my coaching network, all my friends. Even now, at this stage of my career, you still need that network of support because it is tough being a professional.
Yes. In short words, Tim, in your perception at the time, what was the biggest difference between being an amateur and a pro?
For me, it was to be able to start the year with $100 in your bank account, finish the year with $105 in your bank account, but you've traveled the world and you've raced the world. For then it was making a paycheck. It was able to be self-supported. I could pick the races I wanted. And I was also, again, in 1998, they announced that the World Championship, that triathlon was going to be an Olympic sport. And I probably was an outsider in 2 years before the Olympics to make the British team, but I was still improving because I was a junior. So that was always at the back of my mind. And also then, because it became an Olympic sport, we got funding from the government. And because I was the junior world champion, I was put on funding. But with that came physio, massage, training camps, expertise in coaching. We would travel to races and there would be a support staff there, a doctor, a bike mechanic. It really became very professional, literally overnight. As soon as we became an Olympic sport, the British government chose triathlon as one of the sports that they would fund. And that was a big changing point for me as an athlete.
It's a life of dedication, constant suffering, putting yourself in constant test, resilience, 110% dedication. Which is the least favorite and the best part of being a pro?
For me, I think the best part is literally my life. The last 20 years, I've never had a job except a lifeguard and a paper round delivering newspapers. and if I had to write a CV, it would say that, and then a professional triathlete. I've traveled the world, met amazing people, met my wife. I'm able to have flexible hours. I can spend time with my family. We can travel together. I lived in South Africa for 5 years. I'm living in America now for 5.5 years. I've lived all over England, trained all over Europe. For me, that I'm just so lucky, privileged, and fortunate. That's definitely the best part. And I think the worst part is tough. As you said, it is performance. If I don't train, my races don't go well. If they don't go well, I don't finish very well. Then I don't get prize money, bonuses, sponsorship. It is, if you put in 80%, you're not going to make it as a professional. You have to be committed every day. And there are days that are hard that you don't want to get out. But you think, this pays my mortgage, this buys the food, this pays for my children's education, this pays my car. Those things really keep you going. But that's very hard. I can't have a month where I say, you know what, I work in a shop, I'm just going to have an easy month, turn up at 9 o'clock, walk out the door, finish work, forget about it. It's your life, 24 hours, how you eat, how you sleep, how you recover. If my children are ill, I don't want to get ill. It is you don't really have a day off, because being a professional is more than just swimming, biking and running. It really is.
Yeah, I agree. And what's your routine looks like on a typical Team Don's day?
Now, so today I woke up at 5:30. I had an espresso and some water. I went for a 30-minute jog, nice and easy. I came home. I had to do a telephone interview with a magazine in England called 220. Then I went to the gym. I did a 45-minute gym session with my strength and conditioning coach. Came home, had my breakfast. I'm doing a podcast now with everyone here in Brazil. Hi. After this, I have a 90-minute bike ride, just nice and easy. Then I come home. Then I have some lunch, and then I've got another. Then I've got a massage at 2:30, and then this evening I have another 30-minute run, just easy, and then have dinner, and then go to bed, and then go again tomorrow. Today, Monday, is always an easy day because yesterday I had a 32-kilometer run and a swim and a yoga session as well. So yeah, always moving, always moving.
Training wise, what have changed the most for you since 97, Tim?
Definitely the science. I mean, I was lucky that we were using science, but everyone had heart rate monitors. But now we understand the data a lot more, the heart rate, the power, even the power when you run, recovery, training load, total stress, critical load. I just think now the coaches are so much better at using that data to get the best out of the athlete. We know more about diet, nutrition. When I first started, there weren't many types of gels. We weren't having caffeine. The protein powders were not as good. Now they have so many more minerals and nutrients in. The research with altitude training wasn't as definite. The blood, with blood profiling, where they take your blood, they see what you're deficient in. You should go to altitude. You shouldn't. You need to take this mineral, that mineral. I just think you can really see the science and the technology with the equipment from. I run in On shoes. That kind of concept 20 years ago, everyone would have said you were crazy. Sleeping in altitude tents, carbon bikes, aerodynamic, deep wheels, ceramic components, racing kit that makes you go faster, aero helmets. It's just triathlon is on the forefront of everything. It's a sport that accepts challenges and changes and embraces them. And yeah, I really, really enjoy that side of it.
In terms of additional preparation, you mentioned earlier about yoga. There's anything like core training, meditation, coffee, or even red wine that you have incorporated in your daily routine that made you perceive that gives you an edge on your performance?
I have to be careful on the red wine.
or even cheese balls, pão de queijo. Do you have anything special or a secret? Nobody is listening. That you have incorporated in your daily routine that gives you an extra edge.
I think it's having a balanced lifestyle. It's when you start becoming too definite on your diet, where you're weighing every food and you're counting every calorie, I think that's when it becomes an obsession, which is unhealthy. I think having a good balance, and I think definitely the older I've got, I have to look after my body. I do a lot more stretching, rehab, preventative things to stop me getting injured, not getting injured, and then trying to get better. My diet's important. I eat a nice, clean, healthy diet, but once a week I might go, I need a pizza and a glass of red wine or two. You need to have that balance, especially with a family. Your life changes. I think if there's a secret, it's being flexible. I really do. I mean flexible in your approach to training, not touching your toes.
I see. Do you have any self-taught words, a mantra that you regularly uses when dealing with tough situations, like a tough competition or even the last few months that you lived through?
I think the longer I've been in the sport, the more I realized how lucky I am to be. Not many people have been a professional for 20 years, and not many people have been as successful as myself. So I guess my mantra is, appreciate the moment, because tomorrow you literally might not be able to do what you're doing today.
Oh, that's very clever. As an athlete, what do you think is your advantage in comparison with your fellow competitors? What qualities or what extra strength that you have in comparison with all the other athletes, Tim?
Well, I think first of all, I have to thank my parents because it's their genes.
Nice, yes.
But no, I think I'm definitely a big believer in working for what you have. So I always say train hard, race easy, and I think I do. And to me, training hard isn't going 100 as fast as you can. It's just doing exactly what your coach wants you to do every day. Just being consistent with your training, following a process. Don't get greedy with training. Really, really kind of focus on the small things as well as the big things. Focus. I think of the end result, the big race, but I also think about the here and the now and what I have to do today. It doesn't matter about yesterday or tomorrow. It is what I have to do today. But yeah, I'm sure you need some luck. I've had some good luck and some very bad luck, But I don't think I'm that different from lots of other athletes. I know it's such a hard sport.
Of course, yes. Was it you that said once, the more I train, the luckier I got?
No, yes, and I'm a big believer of that. Yeah, and it's exactly what I was just saying. I'm a big believer. If you can leave no stone unturned, you can stand on that start line going, I've trained physically, mentally, equipment, preparation. I know the course. I know how the race. I know my ability, where to push, where not. Then sure, you will. It's not luck. It is hard work. I'm a big believer of that.
Oh, good. Which is the training session you like the most and the worst one? The one that gives you butterflies on your stomach?
It depends. I think for me at the moment how fit I am. So at the moment, I really enjoy my running, and for me, a build run. I love doing a 15 to 21 kilometer build run of kind of like 5K, 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 getting quicker. And I build that up to 7 kilometers. And for me, the hardest is always having to swim on my own. When I have 6 kilometers and I'm the only person in the lane with no coach there, I really find that hard. But then those sessions often count more than the easy ones, because they mentally it makes you feel rewarding when you finish them.
Oh, yes. That's also mental preparation, right?
Absolutely, yes, yeah, no, for sure.
Good. Brazil, Florianopolis, Floripa, as they say here. Team Bravo, 70.3 victories, the world record. What it all represents to you, Tim?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I was there this year watching the race as well, and yeah, it definitely holds a special. Racing in Brazil, I'd never been to Brazil till about 4 years ago. Then I went down there for the Brasilia South American Championships, and yeah, I had a fantastic time, and I met Tiago for the first time and Leo, and kind of like the formation, the brainchild of Team Bravo, started to come out. And yeah, I mean, yeah, Ironman is tough. It really is. So when things go right, it really means a lot. And for me to go as fast as I did, that was just the cherry on the cake. It was my first big Iron. I had won my first Ironman, but it was a smaller race in Mallorca. But this was the first big race I'd run, the first time I'd gone under 8 hours. And it was the first time I felt confident in my training and ability to really race an Ironman. Up until then, I was very, very, very strong in 70.3. but I hadn't really executed a good Ironman. So for me, that was my big focus last year in Brazil. I started also working with a new bike coach, and I think that had a massive impact on my bike, but also on my run as well.
Yeah, of course. They are very interdependent.
Yes, yeah.
Was it the perfect day race for you?
No, definitely not. I think I could have gone quicker on the run.
Oh, really?
Yeah. No, I mean, the swim was fantastic. There were some fast swimmers. I got good feet. I wanted to attack the first 45 kilometers on the bike very, very hard, which I did. I thought maybe some people would come with me, but I was, having a good day. I stuck to the numbers my coaches had given me. I started on the run feeling good, but I definitely don't think it was a perfect day. No, I definitely think there are things I could have done better for sure.
I see. Were you as impressed as the rest of the world with your achievement? I asked you that before.
For me,
To me, it seems, of course, you enjoyed it and you cherished it and you celebrated it, but it's kind of like it was expected, an expected achievement for you, so to speak. Do you agree with that?
yes, I mean, first of all, when you become a world champion, no one can take that away from you. You're going to be a world champion for the rest of your life. But with a world record, someone is always going to go faster, And for me, I raced the best race I could on that day on the course. And I really wanted to win the race. I knew it was a fast race because Brent almost got the world record the year before. I think he was 40 seconds off the world record. No, but for me, I was under no illusion that if Jan, if Sebi, if they'd have been there, I wouldn't have won by so much. Who knows what could have happened? We could have gone even faster by pushing each other. So, for me, I wanted to use it as a confidence leading up to Kona, that I can go fast, that I can run a 2:44 off a hard bike. My numbers on the bike were the best Ironman numbers I'd ever done. We'd worked on my position on the bike, my equipment. But no, without a doubt, there wasn't a perfect race. So someone, it is, and I guess they have gone quicker, but on a shorter course.
Yeah, I see. But most likely, Tim, you'll still be remembered for your record in the year, let's say, 2037. No matter what you achieve in your career from now on. The same happened with Luc van Lierde at the best Kona time in 97, or even with Mark Allen and Dave Scott at the Iron War in 89. Do you have any thoughts about that?
No, I think, when I'm still trying to race, it's not as meaningful. So at the moment, I've been to 3 Olympic Games, but I didn't win a medal. But maybe when I'm 50, 55, people will go, wow, you went to the Olympics? But now I'm like, yeah, I went to the Olympics and I failed because I didn't win a medal. Do you know, right now, I want to go faster next year. I want to try and go quicker. But maybe when I retire, then my mind will change and I will go, wow, I did go fast.
I see.
Do you understand?
No, it makes sense.
When you're still in the moment and you think, well, if I do this and this, I could go quicker here and here, or I could change this, and
Yeah, I see, understand.
Yeah, I always say it's your perspective of
Yes.
what you've done, I think.
You won the ITU Worlds in 2006. After that year, Daniel Unger from Germany won, and then, all the decade after, the titles were split among those 4, the Brownlees brothers, that you know very well, and the Spanish duo Gomes and Mola, with Gomes himself taking 5 of them.
Yes.
What's your reading on this scenario? Marcos Paulo Reis, a former Brazilian national triathlon team head coach at the Sydney Olympics and a former guest here at Endorphin, has asked, what's your opinion about the future of the sport with those young guys and girls that chose triathlon as their first sport at a very young age? Triathlon is now experiencing the first true generation of pure triathletes that first became Olympians, have become 70.3 champions, and now are seeking Ironman titles, just like Jan Frodeno did. Do you agree with that perspective? Are we going to see more and more faster races or even a new way of racing in the long distances in the near future? What's your take on that, Tim?
Yes, I think you're going to see younger athletes become quicker, younger, because they've been a triathlete from the beginning. I think things are going to get faster. I think training methods are getting more precise and definite. I think equipment is getting quicker. Without a doubt, this is just we had our first world championships in 1989 with ITU. The Tour de France is 100 years old. We have got so much to grow. And I think when you watch the 100 meters, everyone looks the same. When you watch the 10,000 meters, everyone looks the same. The 400 meters swimming. But now you have Jan Frodeno, who's really tall, Javi, who's short. You have Daniela, and then you have Anna Haag. We're still finding the perfect kind of triathlete. And I think that's exciting. But no, it's going to get faster, more tactical. And hopefully it's just going to keep growing and expanding because it's an amazing sport.
And how do you see our sport in 5 and 10 years' time? The adaptation for the Olympics back in the late 90s with the draft legal criterium races and now the relay.
Yeah.
Do you consider it evolution or transformation?
I do. And I think now what we're going to see is I think it's going to go more to sprint distance and the team relay for the ITU. So it's going to be a different athlete, more like there's a young Australian called Jake, is it Bristleworth? And he's a very powerful athlete. We're going to see people who are going to be 4-minute milers who can ride 7 kilometers at 400 watts. I think you're going to get very specific athletes for the ITU. And I think slowly they're going to go to Olympic distance, to 70.3, and then to Ironman. But there's still no clear path. We lose a lot of athletes on the way because of the funding. Lots of athletes, as soon as they lose their funding, they retire. They then get a job, go to university, they become coaches, they walk away from the sport. The ITU is a different sport to 70.3 and Ironman. And I think it's still hard to make that transfer. I think the sponsors don't understand as well. Someone like Richard Murray, he might come to 70.3, win 1 or 2, but he's not going to win the big ones. It's going to take him a year to 2 years to learn his trade. But in the meantime, his sponsors will go, he's no good anymore. And then he goes, well, I'm not making enough money, so I'm going to stop it. So I think we still have a lot to learn there. But hopefully, the sport is in good hands, and it's hopefully going to be healthy. But all the industry is suffering at the moment. Race organizers, bicycle manufacturers, shoe manufacturers. It's a tough economical time for triathlon.
The Ironman is celebrating 40 years in 2018. That's your age.
Uh-huh.
By the way, we are celebrating here in Brazil 35 years of the first ever Brazilian triathlon. That, by the way, was inspired by the Hawaiian Ironman. How do you see the Ironman races in the future? More like towards the 70.3 style, or how do you foresee it?
No, I do. I think already it's slowly going that way. I do think, though, there's a massive need for the draft zone to increase to 20 meters for the professionals. And I think we also need the people. I think the people who are the draft busters, the officials,
the marshals.
The marshals. I think most of them are only part-time. They're not a professional marshal. So, and I think it would be fantastic if we could have maybe in the bigger races, we have a couple of professional marshals who are really good, and they can educate the other marshals. They can see the tactics, because I think that otherwise it's just the run's going to become quicker and the swim is going to become so important. If you don't make that lead group, you're not going to be able to bike up to them, because you're going to have now it's live on Facebook World. There's 2 extra camera motorbikes. with social media. There's more photographers, there's marshals, there's police motorbikes. That lead group gets a real push, which is not the athlete's fault at all. It's just the game. It's just the sport.
Yes.
So I think we're definitely in the next year or two, the sport needs to make a decision how they're going to police the bicycle section. Otherwise, it's going to become, there are going to be smaller races where Lionel Saunders, where, Cam Worth, Andrew Starkovich, but it's going to become a lot more like Texas, where you're going to have to run a sub 240 to win a big race.
In face of the recent accidents involving the cyclists at the UCI races, UCI is also rethinking the presence of cars and motorbikes during their races, especially the big tours. I think that moments like those are important for the evolution of the sport. Don't you agree?
Absolutely. And I think we're lucky, hopefully, touch wood, there haven't been many accidents through the officials. But no, I think we're a young sport, and hopefully we can embrace and learn and watch what the UCI are doing. And also, I think we need to start using the IAAF and start measuring our courses as well.
That's a nice idea.
But I think there's so many things. But unfortunately, I have learned ITU is very much for the professionals, for the juniors, for the Olympic Games. Ironman, it's a business. Ironman is worth, is it $600 million US? At the end of the day, they have shareholders, and if something works for the shareholders and not for the professionals, sometimes there's only 20 professionals racing and 2,000 age groupers, and the 2,000 age groupers keep Ironman in a job. So I definitely think at the moment it's more a business for Ironman than really looking after the professionals.
Concerning the accident that you had and all the long and painful recovery process afterwards, I'd rather not bother you with all the questions that have already been asked, and I presume you're kind of tired of answering. But I can't avoid this matter that will also follow you for the rest of your life. For those who weren't on Earth the last year or who simply don't know what happened to Tim, you can go after this podcast to teamdawn.com and watch the amazing on-running movie called The Man with the Halo. I'm more interested on knowing how did this accident transformed you. When asked about it on previous podcasts, it seemed to me that you dealt with it on a very simple fashion. I'm basically the same, living joyfully day by day, or something along those lines. Maybe that's the way you're set, or maybe it's too early to look at it. Do you think your perception today is accurate, or this accident might have changed you? Only you don't know yet.
Oh, definitely life is tough, It really is, you think you can prepare for everything and then the unexpected happens. And, I always say, stuff happens, it's how you deal with it. And I think I really had to live to that mantra over the last 11 months because it's been a very tough 11 months for my wife, my children, myself, my family. But just never give up. Always keep believing. Always keep fighting the good fight. I was blown away by the triathlon community, my local community in Boulder, Colorado. How much they supported my family. The community at large, the messages I got from everyone all over the world, my sponsors, how they stuck with me, the messages, the Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, people that have reached out to me. I'm definitely a big believer now of never give up. If you have a dream, you reach for that dream. You fight for it. If you get knocked down 10 times, definitely get up 11. And it's hard, but that's definitely, going to Kona this year. I know I'm not gonna win, but I'm gonna fight for every position all the way to the finish line. And hopefully I can draw a circle to close this chapter. And then I can train properly over the winter and go back to being fast again next year.
Did you think like that before the crash, or do you think that's already a product of the accident and all you've been through?
you always think like that, but I think, I was on such a roll, having broken the world record in Brazil, having then gone and won a couple of 70.3s, gone to the Chattanooga, the world 70.3s, having gotten third. I was ready to attack Kona. I believed I could fight for a podium. And sure, I could have got cramps. I could have dropped my nutrition. I could have got a puncture. I could have got a penalty. You think of all these things, but to break your neck 3 days before the race, it was such a curveball. There were definitely dark days. I'll be honest. There were some days, where I couldn't understand what had happened to me and why it had happened. And you learn a lot about yourself in those days, not the days where you do the best track session ever and you hit the numbers. Those are easy. It's definitely those days. So I've definitely, I'm trying to focus on the tough days more than the easy days, because I know that makes me a better athlete, and hopefully it makes me a better person, a better father, a better husband as well.
You've already said that competing again was the main motivation besides giving back your 100% dedication to the ones you love and had sacrificed a lot in your name. Where did you get this resilience from? At your age and time, at your best shape, I bet almost everyone would have thrown the towel, buy a house in Farmouth, and watch the kids grow. Why did you choose the hard path?
For me, I've been a professional. I've had a career for 20 years. I've been so lucky. And one day I will have to retire. I will have to stop racing. I will have to, as you said, move on. But I want to choose when that is. I want to choose my last race, my last year. And I might not win my last race, but I want to cross the line with a smile on my face, thanking everyone for my amazing, lucky life. And I think I didn't want to finish on someone else's terms because of someone else's crazy driving. And for me, that was a big driving. I didn't want people to go, he broke his neck, he's going to retire. It's like, no, I want to retire when I want to retire. And I think that was a big driving force for me going forward.
Yeah, I see. That's more or less like what happened to Roger Federer. Do you remember it? He was forced to stop due to injuries, but with the help from his wife, he came back, and he's now playing almost or at his best. And he said that he will only retire when he and she decided. So it's almost the same story and the same decision as you did, and it all makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Now, can you tell us the best advice you've got ever and the worst one?
For triathlon?
In your life, feel free to choose.
For my life, gosh, I definitely think the best advice is be happy. Live in the moment. Don't always think about tomorrow, because you'll miss the moment, and don't always think about yesterday because you'll miss the moment. And I think that's important, but also very hard to do sometimes, because you never know what's going to happen tomorrow, and just because something happened yesterday, it might not happen again.
Yeah, that's very clever too.
And I think that the worst advice, especially with triathlon, is the more training you do, it doesn't always mean the faster you're going to go.
Yes, indeed.
And also there are no medals in training. When I was younger, someone said it's a medal chocolat. It's a chocolate medal. It will melt the next day. It doesn't matter who beats you in training. It only counts on race day and what you can give 100%.
Do you have a favorite mistake that made you evolve into a better competitor or a better person? Can you recall one especially?
I think, this is a small mistake, and when I was younger, there was a team relay, and it was the European Championships for the clubs, and I went to Europe with my club, and I was one of the stronger guys, and it was a no wetsuit swim, and it was the first no wetsuit swim I'd ever raced, and I raced it. And on the bike, the marshal came on and they disqualified me. And I was like, what have I done? And what I forgot to put my number on, because in England it's always cold and wet, so we have our number under our wetsuit. And I remember thinking it was such a small, stupid thing that affected everyone in this team race. And my team, they didn't care. They were like, I was only 17 at the time. They were like, don't worry about it. But it really stuck in my head that you have to look at every aspect of racing. You can't, you have to, if I want to be the best in the world, I have to focus on the small things as much as the big things. And that was just a small mistake which cost me dearly. And that was 23 years ago, and I still remember it.
Nice. Now, before we close this conversation, I have two special messages for you that were sent to me. I will play them and I would like you to comment it.
Yep.
Tim is a true champion. He's one of those guys that make things happen. He knows what needs to be done and he just go out there and do it. You don't see him complaining for all he's been through. And since the first time that I met him, I think in Las Vegas in 2012 for the 7.3 World Champions, he was always a really nice guy, so I'm a big fan of him. I can't wait to race him again in Kona. It's an honor, always an honor. And I wish him all the best in his preparation. And be careful when riding outside, and see you soon.
That's Igor Amorelli.
That was Thiago, no?
No, that's Igor Amorelli. I
Igor,
couldn't reach Vinhal, unfortunately. That's Igor Amorelli, 14th place on Kona last year.
No, Igor, I've got so much respect for Igor, because I would describe him as the consummate professional. He just works hard. He enjoys it. And I really, really enjoy racing him, because I know I'm going to have an honest race. And, he is the best Brazilian Ironman for the last 5-6 years. And that's impressive, because triathlon is big in Brazil, and there's so many people that try so hard to beat him, to knock him off. But he always comes back stronger. And he's a true competitor, a true champion.
Nice to hear that. And now the last one, from also a friend of mine and a previous guest from that was here at Endörphin Podcast.
Hi, Tim. Carlos Galvão here, Ironman Brazil race director. First of all, I'd like to congratulate you for the Kona slot. You deserve it. Yes, you did. You are a hell of an athlete, complete. You got all the resilience and perseverance that an athlete has to have. And I don't know if you are aware of how many Brazilians, thousands of Brazilians cheer for you and will be cheering for you there in Kona this year. Okay, my friend? Good luck. See you there in Kona, and be safe. Bye-bye. Thanks, buddy.
And that's Carlos Galvão, Ironman Brazil race director.
Yeah, I think that just goes to show how big our sport is, but how small it is. We have, relationships all over the world. And as I say, I came and watched the Brazil Ironman this year. It's an emotional day. And, you need people like Carlos in the sport who it's a passion. It's a lifestyle. And, it really means a lot when I hear, people like that, wishing me luck and as I say, I love racing in Brazil. There's always a fantastic vibe, and it's an amazing country. So no, thank you very much.
Kona is about 1 month away, and you finally made it. It was tough, but you did it. Of course, you're a fighter. You're team down, and you're used to it. Now that your dream came true, what's your thoughts on this new chance of racing Kona after all you've been through?
Yeah, it really is. There were times when I thought I would never race again. There were times when I thought I would race, but I wouldn't make Kona. So for me, I'm excited. But in some ways, I'm going to be honest, it's frustrating, because I know I will not be able to perform to the true best of my ability, just because last winter, when everyone was training, I was not able to train. So I have to race to my current fitness level. So I will give 100%, but I know this year unless a miracle happens, I don't think I can get on the podium. But maybe I can get a top 10. That would be a dream. That really would. For me, that would be my podium. But so it's a bittersweet because I really want to be there. But the closer I get, the more and harder I'm training. I'm just, if only I had another month, another 5 weeks, maybe I could get a little bit quicker, a little bit stronger. You know, I haven't had the winter of the long bike rides, the long runs, the strength and conditioning. So we're doing the best we can, and I'm going to enjoy the day. I'm going to hurt, but I'm going to try and enjoy the day as well.
Do you think you're mentally prepared for this day, Tim? When the big day arrives and you jump in the water in a line with all the best athletes in the world, have you already thought about it?
No, I haven't. I can't think about that now. I have to focus on the process. What will be nice is my wife, my family are in England at the moment because we're relocating to England over the next year. And my wife and daughter are going to fly out just to watch the race for 5 days. Unfortunately, my son is only 3, so it's too much travel for just 5 days from England to Hawaii. But it's only the second Ironman my wife has watched. They watched Hamburg this year, which was very emotional. So for me, I really want to share the whole experience with them. It's the first time to Kona as well. So I'm really excited, and I know it's going to be an emotional day, but I really want to have the best day I can and know that when I crossed the line, I gave 100% and I left no stone unturned in my preparation.
Wow. Good luck to you, Tim. I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
And one last question. Who is tougher, you or Kelly?
Definitely Kelly. She has to put up with me. I'm very lucky. She's an amazing woman.
I bet she is. Send my regards to her and all your family. Congrats on all you did and all you endured the last year and all your career. And that's it, man. Do you have any final words for all the massive crowds that are listening to us, the Brazilian ones and around the world?
Just keep racing. You know, I love coming to Brazil. There's always a festival atmosphere, but I can see these guys are serious down there. And you know, let's keep triathlon growing. Let's keep it healthy. And I loved coming to watch the Olympics in Rio. That was an amazing experience. So hopefully, I can come back and race in Brazil next year.
Nice. You're already invited.
Thank you.
Okay. Cheers, Tim. Good luck on these last days to Kona, and good luck at the big day.
Thank you.
Before we turn off, I want to send a special thank to Franco at Human Interest Group, who made this conversation become a reality, to Eduardo Akira, my longtime friend and one of the Team Bravo founders, for connecting me with Tim, to On Running, Team's sponsor, for believing in this idea, and also to my oldest daughter, Michelle, who kindly lent her sweet voice for the sponsor's text recordings you've listened on this episode. Thank you, guys.
This episode was brought to you by Bovan Energy, an energy trading company that also specializes in managing and migrating services, as well as for Endörphin gas. For Bovan, energy is serious business. www.bovan.com.br boven.com.br. This episode was brought to you by LAF Insurances. Do you know that my friends at LAF were the pioneers to develop a bike insurance policy in Brazil? Check out all the policies and conditions at www.lafseguros.com.br and ask for a special price quotation for the 10 first Endörphin listeners who hire insurance at the special URL www.lafseguros.com.br/Endorphina. This episode was brought to you by Cyclops. The Cyclops Hammer is the best direct drive trainer, now available also here in Brazil. Totally user-friendly and compatible with the most popular virtual training apps like Swift and Trainer Road. You can replicate with astonishing precision all the road conditions with inclinations as steep as 20%. Find out more at the Facebook page of Cyclops Trainer Brazil. Now you don't have any excuses for not training properly. Thanks for listening to the Endorphin Podcast. Go to endorphinabr.com to this episode's post and check out some links about what we talked about today. There you can also find all episodes. If you enjoy it, support by subscribing to the Endorphin Podcast at the iTunes Store, Google Podcasts, or Spotify. Remember to wish Tim good luck and send him a hello at his socials. And also to send your suggestions and opinions through our Instagram profile at EndorphinaBR or Facebook page. Until next week!